Iran. One more guest at the World Cup, Germany 2006. But how much do we really know about this ancient country? Its traditions. Its people. Its culture. Its position in the world context and its recent conflict with the Occidental world. It's football. This is the story of our fascinating journey to the so-called Islamic Republic of Iran.
Tampoco me quisieron decir muy bien qué es.
It was time to pack at last. This was the long-awaited departure day. Days before, our first surprise would come when negotiating the visas at the Iranian embassy in London. They let us know of the strict law requirements about women's dress codes in Iran, either residents or visitors. This even applies to the photo for the entrance visa.
I haven't got too many things to cover myself, as they require, then...
What did they recommend to you?
I have to cover all this part, see? Then if I take this blouse with me, I will have to fasten all the buttons up to the top. It has to be completely closed, and I have to cover this part. So maybe this one fits, but well, I do not have many things.
No mucho, pero bueno, no tengo otra cosa. Yo creo que sí.
By now, only 4,000 miles and 6 flight hours were standing between us and the threshold of Occidental culture. Getting rid of social prejudices and misinformation about the Muslim world was becoming difficult in our minds. Overall, being so close and exposed to the influence of the customs and culture of the powerful North American machine.
Well, as we are just about to land, I will have to prepare to wear the scarf, since it will be required to pass migration controls, as it is indicated by law.
The recent international tension around the controversy of nuclear energy in Iran had taken its toll in our confidence to come here, and we did not know how problematic it would be to film in this country given the current climate. The entrance permit specified very clearly that the object of our trip was the production of a program about the Football World Cup. And the inflexibility and strictness of the law in this country applies the same to the media. However, our deepest fears would momentarily disappear as we arrived into a city that looks like so many others in the world. If it wasn't for the constant bombardment of images of the spiritual and political leaders and the modest feminine dresses, the traffic in some of the streets would look familiar to us.
There are a lot of buildings in this city, like in Mexico. And I see as well, there is a color very brown, like with dust. And I think it is because the desert is very close. I made a mistake. I didn't bring the right clothes. To begin with, what I'm wearing is like for winter, not for summer. So I'm boiling here. And on the other side, my jacket is a bit short. It should be longer.
So after a quick stop in our hotel, nowadays only a shadow of what in better times was an important American hotel before the Islamic Revolution of 1979, we aimed our steps towards sorting out Giovanna's dress problems and to discover the secrets of the fashion in Iran. A few days before our arrival, the government of President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad had issued a law hardening police controls of dress codes for women, pushing them to strictly adhere to their hair-covering practices and the use of long and loose garments to disguise the feminine figure. Local media point out that punishment to infractors is severe, from lashing in extreme cases, up to police detention and hard financial penalties. Nevertheless, we found out that even in these conditions, fashion finds its way out. Different colours, forms and ways of fixing the garments make the difference.
It's coffee short, or it is a scarf for studying, for university, for the places, for I don't know, for offices. When we go to university to study, or in the work offices.
This law, introduced since 1979, gets tougher as summer approaches, when Iranian women, as any woman in the West, would tend to dress lighter. But this obviously does not happen here. Football in Iran, as in any other part of the world, is a massive phenomenon that occupies most of the social gossip, TV schedules and press in general. But how is the atmosphere at a regular game in an Iranian stadium? Who attends these matches? Getting into a football match of the top league in Iran was the best opportunity to answer all these questions. But the process would not be as easy as we had expected. Soon we would testify for ourselves, a fact that has caused a huge polemic around the world.
First step, to ask for accreditations for the final of the Iranian football.
How did it go, Giovanna?
I really don't know what to say. I'm sad, angry, they didn't give me the accreditation. But well, they gave it to you, so you will tell me later, okay? Bye.
But the disappointment of not getting Giovanna's accreditations was somehow paid back the next day, as they allowed us to film the trip that the trophies would later take on their way to be handed to the winner of the first Football League of Iran. As expected, being the last game of the season, the roads were packed with fans on their way to Asadi Stadium in the outskirts of Tehran. The venue, with capacity for 110,000 people, was getting full, hours before kickoff. The teams. First, Stegler, leader of the tournament, and with several stars in the national squad, needing this win to secure the championship. Second, Bak, 40th in the league, and with nothing to lose. even here, the strong presence of this country's theocracy is felt. The eyes of its religious leaders, the late Ayatollah Khomeini, leader of the revolutionary movement of the 70s, and the present spiritual head, Ayatollah Khamenei, thoroughly oversee the behavior of the Iranian nation.
چون شمعم که بر من صراحی گریه و
But here, inside a stadium in the core of Iran, the atmosphere is the same. The same faces, shouts, chants, the same passion seen in other parts of the planet. But looking very carefully, something is missing here. Yes, you guessed well. There are no women here, and no beer. The first, because women are not allowed in football stadiums. The second, because Muslims do not drink alcohol. The issue of the ban on women in football stadiums and other sporting events is a hot issue that has followed the Iranian authorities for years. But the ban is in accordance with the moral concepts that this regime has established. Risking prosecution by the system, small groups of women have tried to overcome these laws. In the last preparation game of the national team against Costa Rica in the same stadium, groups of young girls bought tickets and forced their way into the venue, but they were rapidly kicked out by the police. There were widespread protests for human rights. But here, on this sunny day, the football carried on, and everyone's favourite team, the Steglal Blues, were finally carving their way to becoming champions, a status that had been out of reach for 5 consecutive seasons. This is the style of Iranian football. Let me show you a bit of what the Iranians are capable of on the pitch. This is Anayati Raisa, one of the national team's strikers. This is Vahid Talablu, one of their goalkeepers. And so, the new champions of the Football League in Iran, Istiqlal. Pure Iranian celebration.
مزار مولا علی آن شاه مردان بیا که بریم به مزار مولا محمد جان
The prayers. The overwhelming happiness. And the fans momentarily stealing the trophy.
علی شیر خدا در دم دوا کن مناجات مرا پیش خدا
A day that had started so surprisingly for our team, travelling to the Asadi Stadium alongside the trophies that hours later would be handed to the winner of the final of the Iranian football, would finish more amazingly yet when we found out that the car that would take us back to Tehran's city centre would take the president of the Iranian Football Federation as well, Dr. Mohammed Dadkan. Despite some controversial decisions whilst in charge of the federation and reported interference in the work of Branko Ivankovic, the national manager, Dr. Dadkan is a man obviously loved by the fans. His passion for football has helped to raise the international profile of Iranian football, including the achievement of qualifying for Germany 2006 after the failure in 2002.
It's striking me how the people recognize you in the street.
Yeah.
What do you think about your job? You must be very happy.
Thank you for your question. I am very happy for 2 days is the Istiklal Club is champion in the League of Iranian. But my first job, I am a professor in university. My second job, I am president of the Football Federation. This is I think it is normal that some people and the fans and spectator is they recognize me in the street is the normal.
Now, after all the pleasantries, it was time to throw caution to the wind.
I saw in the stadium, I don't know if few women or not women at all. Why is that?
For the clubs, I think is the women is very comfort, sit in the rooms and seeing the television is better.
Very good. Well,
Not a very convincing answer, but one that shows that they think they know what is best for their women, so they decide on their behalf. Two days after the final match won by Istiklal, we headed towards another Football Federation event in preparation for the World Cup, the official launching of the new sports kit of their national team. Right there, and with the international press gathered, the recurrent themes appeared again.
Well, we are just arriving here to the launch of the new Iranian kits, and someone came to tell me that I have to cover it thoroughly because the government is making spot checks.
In spite of this, the profile and style of the event was similar to others in Occident. Branko Ivankovic, the national manager, looked happy despite his legendary cold personality, so he decided to charge.
As I told you, I wanted to get into the stadium 2 days ago to see the final of the national championship of Iran, and I couldn't. So, what do you think about women not being allowed to get into the stadium?
This game 2 days ago was very hard to be on the stadium, because I also tried to be on the stadium, but it was heavy traffic and I couldn't come to the stadium. It was more than 40,000 people in front of the door, and it was not possible to come in. And I watched on the TV. I cannot talking about some rules, and the people, the government know much better, and they know what's going on in the future.
Sensible answer, if you are a Croatian manager that wants to keep his job in a national team like Iran. Finally, international pressure led to partial results, and 2 days after questioning these two important figures of Iranian football, the government announced that in the future women could attend important matches of the national team, but in areas segregated from men. The furor for the football of those 2 exciting days had passed, and our next goal was to take a closer look at society. But then events took a turn for the worse. As our supply of cash diminished, a nasty surprise was in store.
No, it wasn't possible. The Iranian economy faces another problem. Due to the so-called war against terror and the USA embargo, it is impossible for any visitor, businessman, or journalist like us to make use of credit cards or get any money from cash machines, since these work only with national accounts. So, I hope we have enough cash left.
But in spite of its internal problems and external perceptions, the Iranian people are warm,
Mexico 4, Iran 4.
and friendly. This is clearly seen in its popular districts and in the famous and legendary bazaars.
And how much is this?
$13. $4.
This is a city into another city. And one of its most peculiar features is that it is home for endless mosques and even small banks that give service to the retailers.
Here you can find hidden treasures, from amazing mosques that invite mystical reflection and provoke images of the 1001 Nights, up to the impressive Persian carpets that even now possess a quality reminiscent of the magic from the legend of Aladdin. In this place, its language, Farsi, directly reminds us of ancient Persia, the original name of this country. Generations on, its delicious cuisine is still enjoyed today in the traditional way.
And this is one example of the contrasting Iran, one of the most exclusive zones with top cuisine restaurants at the north of Tehran.
Finally, to say goodbye to Iran, we decided to immerse ourselves in its fascinating territory. With 1,648,000 square kilometers, Iran has a vast territory in which France could fit 3 times over. And although deserts are a common view in this part of Asia, Iran has changeable weather and an unpredictable topography. This is the other Iran, the Iran of amazing lost cities in the desert, with warm people that even in peacetime struggle for survival. But today, as in ancient Persia, this country is still a distant one for Occidental eyes. A country of veils, of traditions, of struggle. This is Iran. Behind the door line.